Hi everyone, it's Katrina. From mysterious sea monsters full of teeth to lost cargo found, here are 10 of the strangest things found on the beach. Number 10. Mysterious skeleton. When Storm Ciara hit the UK with 90-mile-per-hour winds, the remains of a mysterious creature were later found on the beach. In February of 2020, local beachgoers in Aberdeen, Scotland were shocked to see the enormous, long spine of some strange creature. But what was it? What did this rotting carcass belong to? Of course, rumors began to spread that these were the remains of the Loch Ness Monster. If it did wash up on the beach, wouldn't that be your first thought? But other people argued that there is no way that Nessie would have adapted to saltwater. The Loch Ness Monster is clearly a freshwater creature. Others suggested it was another prehistoric creature like a diplodocus. Wildlife experts think there's a more down-to-earth explanation, of course. While further tests are required to confirm its true identity, it's thought that it could have been a dolphin or a shark or even a whale that died many weeks earlier and had been floating and decomposing on the open ocean. As the strong winds of the storm blew over, they pushed the body towards the shore and it eventually washed up on the beach. What do you think it is? Let me know in the comments below. Number 9. Innkeeper Worms. In December of 2019, residents in California didn't know what to think when a local beach became covered in these creatures, which have more than a passing similarity to a certain body part. Tens of thousands of them appeared on the sand at Drake's Beach, which is about 50 miles north from San Francisco, and other local wildlife had already moved in to feed on them. They are called innkeeper worms, and the truth behind them is probably more horrific than you might initially think. They have been found in the fossil record as being around for more than 300 million years, and each individual can live for up to 25 years. Here's the thing, these creatures didn't wash up on the shore. They spend their lives burying themselves in U-shaped burrows beneath the sand and filter nutrients from the seawater that soaks down. Recently, a storm had passed over the area, and the rough seas actually removed the top layer of the sand from the beach, meaning that these creatures had actually been there all the time. Next time you think of digging a hole in the sand, just be careful because you might come upon one of these yourself. But it's not all bad. In some cultures, they're seen as a delicacy. Would you want to take a bite? Number 8. Grand Piano. In 2014, images began circulating on social media of a surprising find that had been made on the sandy shore on the Manhattan side of Brooklyn Bridge, a grand piano. Referred to as the East River Piano, it became an instant attraction, and hundreds of people visited it to get their own images. During high tide, it was completely covered, but as the waters receded, it would come back into view. It was a complete mystery as to how it came to be there, though. Theories ranged from it falling from a truck as it crossed the bridge to it being a secret art installation, or that it had floated down the river after being thrown in by an irate musician. To add to the mystery, some visitors tried to play it, but even though it had all of its parts, it was far too damaged to work. And now for number 7. But first, want to give a big welcome to some of our new subscribers, Reihards Ross and Lulu Fitzgerald. Thanks for joining us. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell for more videos like these. Number 7. Toothed Monster. Mexican beachgoers in 2018 were in for the fright of their life when this monster washed up on shore, and still no one's certain what it actually is. It was found in the sand of Mazatlan in western Mexico and was about 30 inches long. The woman who found it had just walked out of the water and at first mistook it for a long piece of rope. As she got closer, though, the reality dawned upon her, and she said she screamed when she saw the dead eyes of the toothed monster looking back at her. She recovered quickly, and when she began to take photos of it, others on the beach started to take more interest in what it was, and they too became petrified. Not necessarily because of this individual, but by the possibility that there were more of them out at sea. When the images were shared online, some experts stepped forward with answers to the question of what it was, and suggested that it could be some type of sea snake, or more likely a deep-sea lizardfish. These strange creatures live on the seabed in warmer waters around the world, have bony, flattened heads with sharp teeth, and lay in the sediment waiting for an opportunity to snap at any prey that swims past. Number 6. Giant Monster. An image of a large grayish blob on the beach circulated online a few years ago, and people are still unsure about its true identity. The origin and details behind the creature are scarce too, but what we do know is that this appears to be a rocky beach in South America, and that the mysterious monster washed up overnight during a storm. The first person to find it immediately called the authorities, and they cordoned off the area to make sure no one was able to get too close. There's a real danger that carcasses like this can contain toxic gases as the internal organs decompose, and it's not too unusual for them to explode. While it might look like a horrifying creature from the upside down, it's most likely a species of whale that, after dying, has been drifting through the ocean. As the gases build up, its body has contorted beyond all recognition, and only DNA tests will be able to answer the mystery for sure. Samples were taken for this purpose, and the body was eventually towed back out to sea so that scavengers could feast on it. Number 5. Beaked creature. In the summer of 2015, a local hiker found this strange sight on a beach in Sakhalin Island in Russia. This place is so remote that it's actually closer to the US than it is to Moscow, so it took quite some time before researchers could arrive to try and understand what it is. At a length of twice the height of a human, it appears to have a long beak protruding from its head and has thick, long clumps of hair. This made identifying the creature very difficult indeed. Experts at first believed it was a species of dolphin, maybe one that wasn't native to these waters and had probably died far away and been carried here on warm ocean currents. They also suggested that it was a particularly rare species and might even have been a Ganges river dolphin all the way from India or Bangladesh. The problem with this theory, though, is that there are no known species of dolphin that have fur. So this is either a new variety or something very strange happened to this one as it was floating through the ocean. For now, it remains some sort of mutant, hairy monster. Number 4. Huge pipes. In 2015, a jogger was taking his morning run along a beach in Norfolk, England, when he saw something that he couldn't make sense of. When he got up close to it, it became clear that this was a plastic pipe. But it was absolutely huge, and it wasn't the only one. In total, there were 12 of these 8-foot wide and 1,500-foot long objects, but with no building sites in the area, it wasn't clear where they could have possibly come from. But don't worry, the truth was soon revealed. They had originated from Norway and were destined for a large construction project in Algeria. The only way to get them there was by sea, but the boat that was towing them got caught in a storm. The cables were severed by the waves, and the cargo was left to the whim of the currents and ended up on this beach. As they were brand new and very expensive, the company that owned them immediately began plans to fix them and get them back on track to their original destination. They were taken to a nearby port where repair works were carried out and then were towed to Norway and then to Algeria, and only arrived a few weeks later than planned. That's customer service right there. Number 3. Unknown creature. Scotland has its fair share of fabled monsters, so whenever something strange washes up on the beach, it's almost always compared to the Loch Ness Monster. This one, however, certainly looked like it could be a small version of the legendary cryptid and was found near the Bridge of Dawn in Aberdeen. A couple were the first ones to discover it while they were walking their dogs, and the first thing they noticed was the horrifying stench. They walked over the sand dune and realized what was releasing the foul odor as they saw the 30-foot carcass curled up in the sand. With such a degree of decomposition, it's impossible to determine what this creature was by simply looking at it. Experts came to dispose of the remains and took samples to test in a lab. When they got the results, they found it to be the remains of a whale, although the exact species couldn't be determined, and it's likely that it had been dead for many months before the tides brought it to land. Number 2. Ice spheres. The oceans are home to countless strange occurrences, but the beaches around lakes also have their fair share of mysteries too. In 2013, hundreds of giant spheres of ice were found washed up on the shores of Lake Michigan, with some weighing as much as 50 pounds. At first, locals were confused about how these basketball-sized objects could have possibly arrived there, but scientists soon revealed an unusual phenomenon that explained exactly how it had happened. It occurs during the winter and is the result of an interaction between the wind and the waves along the shore. The balls begin as tiny pieces of ice that float in the water, and they become the seeds for the larger formations. They are surrounded by supercooled water that, when it comes into contact with them, freezes around them. Layer upon layer of ice is added to the initial shard, and the action of the water helps to smooth them and make them spherical. Finally, once they are large enough, a gust of wind is all it takes to push them onto the beach. Number 1. Barnacle Monster. Just imagine walking along a beach and finding something like this lying in the sand. It was found in 2016 on Muriwai Beach in Auckland, New Zealand, and it was unlike anything that locals had seen before. Dubbed the Muriwai Monster, one eyewitness said that its putrid smell was being blown downwind, and as you got close to it, it looks like it was covered in wiggling worms. There have been a number of suggestions on what it might actually be, ranging from a baleen whale to other large monsters of the deep, with dreadlocks. But when experts came to evaluate it, they put forward a surprising suggestion. They believed that it was, in fact, a large piece of driftwood that had been covered in thousands of gooseneck barnacles. These animals are found across the globe and attach themselves to objects in the sea with a biochemical cement and a specialized stalk that's called a peduncle. They're able to attach themselves so firmly by secreting a tiny drop of oil first, which clears the water out of the way so they can make a solid bond. Once in place, they filter the seawater as it passes by them for nutrients and spend their entire lives stuck to the same place. In some countries, the long tube-shaped creatures are considered a delicacy, but after being exposed to the air for so long, these had most probably taken on a rather unpleasant taste. Thanks for watching! Keep an eye out for monsters when you walk on the beach. You never know what you might find. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye!